The reader who applies this information in a machine shop setting should have basic machine shop skills and be qualified to safely operate a lathe and milling machine. The reader assumes all risk and liability when applying this information. Man, I wished I had read that before the accident. So, today we're going to talk about muzzle brakes. And this book right here is called The Accurate Muzzle Brake. It's by Troy Newlawn. Now, Troy Newlawn's a good guy, and he knows a ton about muzzle brakes. Troy Newlawn also produces die blanks that we use, not quite often, but we use to make custom dies. The deal is, the guy knows a lot about brakes. All right, so now here's the thing about brakes. I don't really like brakes, okay? I wouldn't go so far as to say that I hate them, but I just don't like brakes. I just don't like them. I just don't like brakes, okay? So here's the deal. It's like life preservers. It's good to have it if you need it, but most of the time it's just a pain in the butt up till the moment that you do need it. So the thing with brakes is when you really need it, you need it, all right? So like 338 Lapua, 338 Lapua, say 300 grain bullets. I mean, going out of there 2,900 feet a second in, say, anything less than about a 12-pound gun, you need it. Now, I say that, I have built a few 338 Lapuas to shoot both 300 and 250 grain bullets without brakes as relatively lightweight guns. And pretty much it's a no-go. I mean, there's just too much recoil to deal with in any way, shape, or form except under purely a hunting situation. In other words, it's a hunting gun. You get it zeroed, you never shoot it for fun ever because it's just not fun. Now, again, it's not like that I hate brakes because it's going to sound like I do as we talk about this. But on those big guns, I still don't like them, but it's not like I hate them because you kind of need it, all right? On smaller guns, wow, I really don't. So let's start, say start at 264 Win Mag. You do not need a brake. If the gun is built properly, if you're shooting 140s, anybody with a little bit of training can definitely deal with that level of recoil. Now let's say 7 mags. We build a lot of 7 mags. And to me, recoil is not even an issue. Shooting 180 burgers, I mean, I don't even notice it. Now again, we're using, good, well-designed stocks and, guns that are put together properly with generally fairly large scopes, and to me, no recoil. 300 Winchester, that is kind of the break-off point. And again, it depends what bullet you're shooting. But, 300 Winchester with 150s, 165s, 180s, I still think no break. I mean, that's my recommendation. You get to Berger 210s, again, it depends on the weight of the gun. It depends on what scope you're using. It depends on how the stock is designed. I mean, it depends on a lot of different things, whether you actually need a brake or not. All right, so as soon as you leave 300 Winchester, pretty much you're into brake territory for most guys. So say we jump to 30 Nosler. Again, I've built them both ways, with and without. Again, this is shooting Berger 210s. Some guys can deal with it, and women too, by the way. It has nothing to do with physical size. It just has to do with whether you're recoil sensitive or not. But that being said, some guys can deal with it, some girls can deal with it, some people can't. It also depends on, how much are you actually going to shoot the gun? I mean, are you going to shoot it for fun, or is it only going to be a hunting gun? But 30 Nosler is definitely a cutoff point. As you go bigger into any of the 338s, I mean, start and say at 338 Win Mag, 338 Win Mag shooting 250s, if they're only going, say, just 2,800 feet a second, personally, I can still deal with it, and I would prefer not to have a brake. By the time you get to 338 RUM, you go to any of the big ones, any of the big 338s, 340 Weatherby, 338 Lapua, pretty much, or obviously 33 XC, you're into brake territory, whether you're shooting 250s or 300s. One thing I want to point out, though, before we go on and actually get into this, is there is an enormous difference between shooting the 250s and shooting the 300s. The 250s in all of those big ones, if you're not recoil sensitive, I say you can deal with it. I mean, it's borderline, but as a pure hunting gun, you can deal with it. As a gun just to sit down and shoot for the fun of it, no. But when you get to the 300s, that is a whole different ball game. The thing is, they kick. They kick. In a light gun, they're brutal. In a medium gun, there's recoil. In a heavy gun, there's still recoil. Not as bad. In a heavy gun, again, if it was, say it's a 14-pound gun, as a hunting gun, you could deal with it, but I would rather not. All right, so here's the thing. I have been putting a brake on this gun here for like the last 2 days, and people would be like, why on earth does it take 2 days to put a brake on? Well, if you put them on the way most people do, it doesn't. If you put them on the way I do, unfortunately, it does. What I want to show you here is what we're dealing with, because the guy that I'm building this gun for, heck of a nice guy, he asked me to, this is a 30 nozzler, it's going to shoot Berger 210s. He asked me to put a brake on a smaller diameter barrel, which I did not want to do. I do not like, I better stop and say that really clearly right now. I do not like putting brakes on any barrel that measures less than 3/4 of an inch at the muzzle. In other words, 0.750 at the muzzle. That's my minimum, and I really don't even like doing those, okay? I would rather put on a brake, say like on heavy varmint. By the time we get to heavy varmint, like 0.900, I don't have a problem. You get to 1 inch, I definitely don't have a problem. You know, you want to put them on inch 250, I don't have a problem because there's a lot of metal. But I have a barrel in the lathe right now, and I'm kind of gonna go through this and show you why that I don't like to put brakes on small diameter barrels. We're gonna have to stop now because she's gonna grab that camera off of there, and we'll start over here. All right, so cut. Okay, so here's what I want to show you. This is the end. Come on over here. First of all, come on over and look here in the lathe. Okay, so I have this barrel in the lathe. This is a Krieger. I think it's a Krieger. It's a 5.5 modified, whichever it is. Matter of fact, let me look here. No, it is a Bartlett. It's a 111.25, but it's a 5.5 Sporter modified. And what that means is that it's inch 300 at the breech, but 0.705 at the muzzle. Now here's the muzzle that I've cut off of the gun. Okay, so you need to be looking right here. All right, so there's the muzzle of the barrel that was on there. So it's 704, 704.5. And you notice here, I cut about 1.4 inches off of the end. All right, now, what I need to show you is, and I need glasses to see this, is if you look at this, come on over here. You're going to have to be over here. This is difficult to do. So, say I needed to cut the tenon to 0.63, and it's about 0.633, okay? And that is to mate up, you need to be right there, need to be looking right there. That is to mate up with the inside diameter of this. Now you realize this was supposed to be 5/8, which 5/8 is 0.625. But that's not the way I do it. I don't cut things to standard dimensions. What I do is I go inside the brake and see what it actually measures, and then I cut my tenon to the same diameter as whatever it actually is. And I'll show you that in a minute here. I'll show you why I do that in a minute. Now here's the other thing. I don't know if you can see down inside this brake or not, but this wall right here is very thin. All right, and so come back over here. To do this, to put a brake on this gun, I actually had 3 choices, and I don't know if she can see this or not. Again, hopefully this is self-explanatory. So you see this brake is 875 on the outside, right? And this brake, 750. It's a 750 brake, okay? 3/4 of an inch. This one is also 3/4 of an inch, okay? The difference is the size of the hole in the middle, all right? So I would rather have more wall thickness. In other words, ideally, I would like to have this much wall thickness. The issue is that the barrel, okay, this is the end we cut off, is 30 caliber. all right? So you only have so much material to work with. So what you have to decide is, say you would have went with this. Say you want a lot of wall, a lot of shoulder to shoulder contact. In other words, the shoulder of the brake up against the shoulder of the barrel. You want a lot of contact, right? The problem is, look how small then you have to cut the interior hole. Okay, so this is actually, I think this is 3/4, I think this is 9/16 on the inside. 567, I'm looking at my wall chart right now. Yes, that's 9/16 on the inside. All right, it's actually a little bit over, but that's what it is. So ideally, I would have rather used this brake than this brake, all right? Because this has way more contact up against the shoulder. But here's the issue. The issue is it's a .30 caliber barrel. So it has a bigger hole in it. In other words, if this had been a 6.5 264, actually it would have been better if it was a 6mm. Say the hole through the middle is 243. All right, what that would do is here, right here, it would give me way more metal surrounding the outside of the actual bore. I'm not explaining this too good, but so the issue is right now, the way that this barrel is, there's only 197 thou. All right, and that is whenever this is at full diameter here at 705. Do you remember that on this one we needed to go to, and this is the one with the big hole, we needed to go to 633, 634. So what I'm saying to you is I would have rather not put a brake on this barrel. I absolutely would have rather not put a brake on it. The thing is, this is a nice guy. He's an older gentleman. He's had some health problems, and he doesn't want to get beat around, right? And so pretty much he talked me into putting the brake on it. I did not want to do it for the reasons that I'm not explaining very well right here. Because, as I stated earlier, I never want to put a brake on any barrel unless it measures at least 0.750 at the muzzle. Because I want the steel. I want the steel around the actual bore through the dang barrel. The more steel, the better. Because when you turn a tenon, let's go back over here. Okay? So you realize this was that size, and I cut it off, and then I had to turn it down, right? So again, we measured this just a minute ago. It's 630, 633, 634, somewhere right in there. I had to turn that down. Well, as I'm turning that down, you realize the wall of steel between the bore and the outside edge is getting thinner, okay? And just stay right there because I'll come back. So that's the reason why that I use this brake with a larger internal diameter so that I didn't have to turn this down very much. But it's still more than I would like it to be, all right? The other thing is then, because this is fairly thin through the wall, if you can see right here, I don't have very much of a shoulder. And in fact, the shoulders here, in a second I'm going to put this on there and I'm going to show you, these shoulders almost perfectly made up. I will turn this down just a little wee bit when I'm finished. All right, now since we're going to talk about brakes, there's more. So let's come back over here for a second. I want you to look at these two brakes that I chose not to use. The two other possible candidates that I could have used, because I could have made either one of these work. And I'm pretty sure that 99% of the guys out there would have used this one as compared to this one. And they would have done it so that they have more shoulder contact, but their tenon is smaller in diameter. Now, before I go on, because I'm going to miss this, here's the thing we have to talk about. When you do anything to metal, it's always moving. But when you take the muzzle of a rifle, and turn it down, internally, it is getting bigger. All right, so let me see something here. I'm going to just hold on one second. Do I have anything that, here, I guess I can write on this. This is called not being prepared. All right, so come on over here and I'll show you something. So let's say that this is the barrel right here. I'll actually make this the other side of the barrel, right? And you're like this. All right, as you turn this down like this, What's actually happening is the barrel is going like this. In other words, instead of being a nice straight barrel, it comes out and it's going like this. It looks like an old-time blunderbuss. It looks like a trumpet. It's getting bigger here as you're turning this metal off. So ideally, with any barrel, whatever dimension it is here, you would ideally like it to be just slightly tighter there so that it's choked as the bullet is going down. It's swaging down till it jumps out into the air, right? The problem is when you take this metal off of here, like I said, this dimension right here is getting bigger so that you're getting this big funnel effect, right? All right, well, that's really bad for accuracy because the bullet has been being swaged down, and it gets right to here. Now it's swaging up for a second. The barrel, it's a larger spot, a larger area in the barrel. Again, I'm explaining this horrible, but not good for accuracy. Okay, that's the thing. Not good for accuracy. So if you start with a lot heavier barrel, I need something to wipe this with. Why don't you grab something there? Again, this is called not being prepared. If you start with a lot larger diameter barrel, right? Say, here's your muzzle. And then you only take just a little bit off of it on each side, then you have so much steel from here to here on both sides. You realize the hole's through the middle, right? But you have so much steel here and here that the chance of it actually doing that blunderbuss thing, that trumpet thing, is at least minimized. And again, you got to realize I've done this for a long time. That's why I would rather, I say 750 at the muzzle to put a brake on. I would rather it be 0.900, like heavy varmint, or heavier than heavy varmint. You know, say like a barrel that's say 1.3 to 1. I don't have a problem putting a brake on that type of a barrel because there's so much metal and you're only removing such a little bit that they always shoot. Let's put it that way. But when you do this, when you do what we're doing over here, come back here. When you take a barrel that's this small, which again, this is the barrel piece. When you take a barrel that's this small to begin with, okay, and it only has a wall thickness that's that much, which is not very much, okay, and then you go in and you turn it down. So what did we say that measures over there? 633. So here, look. It's okay. So there's 632. So you lay I don't know if you can see that. If you lay the caliper on it, I mean, you can see how much we cut off of that, how much we turned that hair, and it'd be better to do it on this end because it's more accurate. How much we turned that down to be able to thread it. Okay? Now, it's not much, but it's more than I would like it to be. Where if you had a great big barrel like this, and you only turned a little bit down, I mean, look how much more metal you would have. All right, so that's one thing. Now, there's something else I want to show you here about these brakes. And I am definitely plugging these guys because these guys are good guys. So this is Harl's Precision. We get brakes off of them, and they make powder measures. They make all kind of stuff. Here's the deal. These brakes, by the time shipping and everything's here, they're like $35 each. Now, guys are probably like, oh, pulling their hair out. $35 each. You know, you can buy brakes for $200 and more. And I'm not saying whether they're worth it or whether they're not. This is what I'm saying. I like Harl's brakes because they come unfinished. So I want to show you something here. So that's the way they come. Okay? They come with a 1/4 inch hole drilled through them. Okay? So they're unfinished on the inside, they're unfinished on the outside, and I hope I'm reporting this correctly. They are single point, manually made, one at a time. And here's the deal, at least as far as I've ever found. They are square. Square, they are straight, they are concentric. You'd think, wow, that's a rough piece of thing, and you know, it's not that great. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. It's because it's not unfinished, because I have to do a whole bunch of work. I have to obviously I have to turn a tenon. I have to thread it. I have to get it to fit, and because they're not CNC, like I said, they don't all measure the same, right? So that's why I actually measure them to see what it's going to be. In other words, it's custom. That's what I'm saying. This brake, when it's on, it is custom. Now, that's going to bring up, and again, I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff, but this is going to bring up a whole other point. Everything about this the gun builder has to do, all right? So I'm not going to show you all the operations that go into actually getting this on, but one of the things that I do want to show you is, I want to show you, well, wait, all right, again, it's not like we have a script. Come here, I want to show you something here. Okay, so this is a thread protector. And this is actually the end of a piece of barrel that I cut off of a factory Savage, right? That's the end of the barrel. I cut it off right here. All right, I want to show you something. And this is actually pretty good, by the way. I like Savage. I'm not knocking them in any way, shape, or form. I just want to show you the difference between factory and custom. So look, hopefully you can see that. I mean, it threads on very easy. Now, as far as wobble, not really that much. I mean, it's actually pretty good. As far as end play, I mean, yes, there's a little bit. But the deal is, that comes up and bumps up against there, and there's your, your end cap. Because guys will ask me, they're thinking along the lines of factory guns. They will say, well, can't you put a brake on it and then give me a thread protector? And for a million different reasons, the answer is no. I despise that, okay? I truly do hate thread protectors and stuff. For, again, more than I can go into. It would have to be a whole separate video, partly because they don't weigh the same, they don't butt up the same. Let's put it this way. It could be done, but to do it right, you'd basically have a brake that's not a brake. In other words, they would be two identical things. They would weigh exactly the same. It's just too much to go into. All right, but that is a thread protector. So now I want to show you something about this one. And before I do this, I want you to realize that in the process of doing what I've done here, and I don't know if you noticed, by the way, this has an 11-degree here. Come over on this side. This has an 11-degree crown on the inside also. And again, that's too much to go into also. But I have a truly square shoulder. These threads are truly concentric to the center of that bore, again, without going into too much. But this brake has been on and off of here, with no exaggeration, I would say probably at least 20 times. And actually, because this is stainless, I didn't want to do this, but I have made this mistake before. I want to show you something. Okay, now watch. Okay, now I'm a little over 6 feet, and right now I weigh about 225. Okay, and am I getting old? Yes, but I mean I can pick my wife up over my head easily. All right, watch this. And like I said, it's been on there at least 20 times. All right, and right now it's getting just about too much that I can't go. Now here's the thing, watch this. 0 end play, 0 side play, and we still have, I don't know, we still have a 1/4 of an inch or more to go. So the way that my brakes go on is like this. You have to use a tool. And then, even then, not too easy, okay? I mean, it is tight. Okay, and when it comes up against there literally, it will be as one piece of metal. You cannot tell that there are two pieces of metal there. You can see that there's a lip here because the brake is slightly larger diameter than the barrel. But now once this is on here, I will turn this down. I will take a few passes here, then I will start at an angle. And I will angle into that because I don't want to remove very much material. Eventually, you will not be able to tell that brake is not one piece on the barrel, like it was magna-ported. That's what it'll look like. Now here's the thing. Once you do that, I still, oh crap, I should have showed that to you. All right, I'll tell it to you, then I'll turn around and I'll show you. Once you do this, once you take a few passes on this, once you get your angle on here, then I'll reface this, put an angle also on that. I may even put an 11-degree crown on the end of it, but the last thing that I will do is make this internal hole the exact diameter that I want it. And so this is the thing. I want to explain this to you. So in other words, the hole through the barrel, it's very close right now to what I want, but it is not drilled, it is bored. In other words, with a boring bar. You will use a boring bar, and you will go in here and you will bring it up to the exact diameter. Now, here's the thing. This is 308. I like to run 20, 21, or 22 over. So 308 plus 20 is 328. That's what I like my inside hole to be. So that's only 10 or 11 on a side over bullet diameter. But I do that as the final thing. The very final thing is to bring it up, because that way that makes certain that this hole is perfectly aligned, concentric with the actual bore, which I think is very important, and Troy Newlawn thinks it's important too if you read that book. By the way, I'm going to hold that book back up again because this book is worth reading. He'll be wondering now why he suddenly gets orders for 300 of these books, but this is a good book. You will learn a lot. All right, now, that being said, I need to take this back off of here, and I want to show you something, if I can even get it back off. See, the thing is, when you run stuff this tight, I have had them gall, and it goes on, and it just doesn't come back off. You have to cut the end of the barrel off. You won't get it. The idea, though, is, when guys are asking me, well, can't you just, put a brake on it and then make the brake removable and then give me a thread protector? And the reason why I always say no is because it's a degree of precision. When you start to get to this level of precision, I do not want it being taken on and put off, because like I said, it will look like one piece of steel. You will not be able to tell that it is on there. And so I don't want it being taken on and off, and I also do not want a thread protector, and that is because of accuracy. It's a whole other separate subject. You may not notice it in a gun that shoots 3/4 of an inch. You may not even notice it in a gun that shoots 1/2 an inch between switching from the brake, say, to a to a thread protector. You get down into guns that shoot 1 or 2/10 of an inch, just trust me on this. 99% of them, they will shoot a different point of impact, and not only that, different groups if you had the brake on and if you switch it out for the thread protector. Okay? So now, that being said, I want to show you something about boring these. So again, these come with a 1/4 inch hole in them. Okay, and you can see there's all kind of nasty burrs and everything in there. Okay, that's great. All right, it's great because you can't use it that way. So, could you just drill it out? Yes, but then it probably wouldn't be concentric. So what I do is, and the real machinists here are going to have a heart attack. Remember, we build guns, so we don't make a lot of money. Yes, I need a pin gauge set, I do. But this is how I do it. So I use the boring bar. I will take a drill bit and knock some of that out, because like I said, that's 1/4 inch and it's got all kind of burrs and stuff in it. I will knock some of that out of there, but then I bore this up to the diameter I want. So look, so this is just the end of a drill bit, the back end of a drill bit, not the drill end, and it happens to measure 324, 325. So what I do is, this is for 30 caliber. This is my getting close one. So see, that'll go through there, right? And of course, as I'm bringing it up, as I'm boring it, because that little boring bar is sticking out quite a ways, I'm only taking, here it is right here. This is the way it works. I'm only taking just a very light pass as I go through there. And of course, you can only go so deep too, by the way. So you got to know these things, all right? So anyways, I'll bring it up a little bit at a time. And you notice this one just goes, right? Then I start to go about 1 thou at a time. All right, so now look at this one. This one measures, let's call it 329, which again, 328, 329 is ideal, right? So now watch this. Okay. You see? And again, if you had a pin gauge set, the pin gauge sets are expensive. But there it is. Is this rinky-dink? Yes, it is. But it's how I get my diameter. So it probably measures 329, maybe 329 and a half. And you realize when you're doing that, you got to go the whole way through. See, it'll go in this end also. But this final pass is going to be done. These final passes are going to be done, because I am going to go just a hair more. They're going to be done with it installed. So once it's installed, you go in and take that thing. So what you have to make sure is you can't go too deep. You cannot go too deep with the boring bar, because if you do, if you went through there like that, and again, I don't know if you can see that. See, if you went through like that, you would ram into the end of your 11-degree crown. And so you don't want to do that. All right, so here's the thing. There's about a million more things I could say about brakes, but hopefully you get the idea. The basics are, in my experience, don't put brakes on small diameter barrels. And I realize that's a huge that's a huge paradox, because the smaller barrels are generally smaller guns, right? You think about this. Smaller diameter barrels, lighter guns. Lighter guns, more recoil, right? Bigger guns, heavier guns, bigger barrels, less recoil. So the little guns with the little barrels are what wants the brakes. Like, okay, I want to put a brake on that, but see, I don't because of accuracy. I do because of recoil. The bigger guns with the bigger barrels that are a lot heavier, you're like, well, you know, maybe I could get away without a brake. The thing is, they have a big barrel to begin with, and because they have a big barrel, removing that little bit of material out at the end of the muzzle may not do them any damage. Again, I sincerely believe that brakes negatively affect accuracy. Even if you have a gun that's shooting one hole, I believe if it didn't have a brake, if it didn't have a brake on it, I believe it would be a hair more accurate. Now that's a whole long conversation I'm not going to go into. There's all kind of stuff going on in there. It's not just like that bullet comes flying up the barrel and the gas jumps out, and you got to realize, just a little insight into it, there's air inside the barrel before the cartridge ever goes off. In other words, there's gas in front of the bullet and there's gas behind the bullet. One is rapidly expanding and pushing the bullet forward. The other gas that's in front of the bullet is being rapidly compressed and pushed forward. So you got a lot of dynamics going on there. All I'm saying is, in my experience, doing hundreds of these, if it's me, if I can get away with not using a brake, like I said, say I'm building a 7 mag. If it's mine, no way, no brake. If I'm building a 300 Winchester, no way, no brake. If I'm building a 30 Nosler, say to shoot 210s, maybe a brake, all right? But here's the thing. If I'm going to shoot 30 Nosler with 245s, which, by the way, we're going to start building some of those, then, you know, you're probably getting into Brakeville. And then you go to 338 Lapua, you're going to need a brake. So the thing, my view on brakes is, if you need it, use it. But if you can stay away from it, if you can get away without it, don't use it. Because brakes, it's not just a piece of metal with a hole in it. There's a whole lot more to it. And there's definitely a whole lot more to installing it properly and making them really work. Okay? So that's about all I had to say about this. Oh, and one thing we do have coming up, and I don't know whether we're going to do it tonight or not, we finally got a bore scope. No, we did not get the one we want. We got the one we can afford. Fact is, it's pretty nice. I wished it wasn't. Made in China. All right, that's it for tonight. Talk to you later. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. Be a hero. Make a difference. Thanks.